Some disturbing news on the international front. The White House saying Russia's invasion of Ukraine may be imminent, and the buildup of Russian troops now reaching a break point.
So let's be clear. Our view is this is an extremely dangerous situation. We're now at a stage where Russia could at any point launch an attack in Ukraine. And what Secretary Blinken is going to go do is highlight very clearly there is a diplomatic path forward. It is the choice of President Putin and the Russians to make whether they are going to suffer severe economic consequences or not.
And joining us now is our Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent, Nayyera Haqq. Nayyera, I understand that you are following some breaking news on this front.
Well, you just heard the White House press secretary talk about economic consequences. The Secretary of State just wrapped up his press conference with the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, and he affirmed to President Zelensky that the United States will defend Ukraine's democracy. Now, the question, of course, becomes, what does that defense look like? The White House has mentioned economic consequences. We know after the 2014 invasion of the Crimean Peninsula, Russia was kicked out of the G8. It then became the G7. There were sanctions put on Russian oligarchs, but that did not deter Vladimir Putin from amassing 100,000 troops on the border of Ukraine at this moment. So what will be done differently this time? 8 U.S. senators yesterday did mention that they will continue to provide military aid to the Ukraine, $400 million already spent so far. And in the press conference, Secretary Blinken today did affirm the massive consequences as well as the U.S. defense of Ukraine's democracy.
Nayyera, there is talk of war, and then there is war itself. One of the most startling sound bites I heard this morning was from a member of the United States Senate talking about how this is Ukraine. This is not Georgia, for instance. This is not the Crimea Peninsula. That people in Ukraine do not want to be part of Russia. They want to be Ukrainian, and that he warns that this will be a bloodbath in the sense that there will be prolonged guerrilla fighting.
Context, Del. Ukraine is larger in population than Afghanistan. It is the largest country in Europe that has all of its borders landmassed in Europe. So there's not necessarily a border that would not impact some other part of Europe. That's why Ukraine has been such a touchstone for NATO and their military alliance against Russia, because it sits right between what is known as Western Democratic Europe and, of course, the Russian autocracy. But this is what Vladimir Putin does, right? He makes aggression normal. He violates international agreements and makes that normal. What is different this time around, when he took the Crimean Peninsula, that part had been ceded to Ukraine when the Soviet Union fell apart, but it was essentially ethnically Russian and Russian in identity. The rest of the Ukraine considers itself Ukrainian, as you just mentioned. They also see themselves more akin to Poland and are drawing the direct parallels of the fact that Poland was invaded during World War II and the rest of Europe effectively stood by. So the Ukrainians are asking for Europe, for the United States, to help, to not allow it get swallowed up in Russia's sphere of influence. This is now going to be the moment that President Biden has to decide. When he's talked about the fight of democracy versus autocracy, about the United States being a leader in that fight, what does that mean for the American people? This will be that deciding moment.
And we should also point out that during the breakup of the old Soviet Union, most of the nuclear weapons were based in Ukraine, and they gave this up for protection. Nayyera Haqq, our Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent. Nayyera, thank you very much.